The Quick Snap is presented by FWF, dependable solutions for the pros since 1866.
Welcome to episode 13 of the Quick Snap podcast. I mean, we had some injuries with the Patriots this past weekend, even though they won. We have some roster manipulation with our show right now. David is not here in the studio today. In this place, producer Danny sitting in the chair. What's going on?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I didn't want to be in this chair last week, David.
Shut up, Danny. Yes, you did. I'm here. I'm a cockroach. You can't kill me.
Well, you take a vacation. I got to sit in your spot. And, the YouTube comments, everyone wants to see producer Danny talk football, right?
I've seen a lot.
Who doesn't want to hear more of that?
Hey, you know what my favorite comment on YouTube was last week? That guy in the middle looks a lot like Mac Jones, your favorite player.
I've gotten that a lot, which I don't love.
David, where are you?
I had to negotiate my bye week with the NBC contract because I've had a bye week my whole professional life. And so I had to take my bye week. I'm down at my farm though, having some good family time. Thanksgiving coming up 2 days, so a little bye week, but I'm still working because I'm addicted to the grind here.
I love it. All right, well, why don't you open it up with your takeaways from the game? It was a weird game, right? We were texting during the game like this is just it didn't have a good feeling. They were able to come out with a win, but a bunch of injuries, since then, some of the news seems cautiously optimistic. But what was your first takeaway from the game on Sunday?
Yeah, really didn't play their best, I didn't think, Hoy. There's a lot kind of engaging with some fans, which I know we'll get into, but I love hearing what people have to think of the game personally. Not that it shapes how I view it, but I just like seeing how people think about it. Quarterback was very unsettled early. I would say probably one of his worst halves of football recently. And the defense it was a weird game where I thought that, man, getting up Monday morning watch, I was like, man, the defense didn't play that great. And then I started thinking about it, and they only gave up 13 points. Like, they didn't play that bad. Cincinnati had a lot of success on the ground. Who knows if that was Tonga being out with Milton Williams. That really shows a hole in the front. I think to me the biggest thing is they won the football game. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, how you feel about it, Hoy or Danny, from a fan perspective. But you can't say, I would have traded the injuries for a loss. Like, the only thing that matters at the end of the day is winning the game in a tough situation, kind of, a lot of factors going on. They still found a way to win. And that, to me, is what carries you the most throughout the year than anything else.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, you mentioned Drake and being unsettled early, and it just, for the first quarter, it looked like somebody else took over his body. He just didn't look comfortable. It wasn't like he was getting a bunch of pressure. There was one throw going to the left, and it looked like he was ready to throw it to Hunter, and then like mid-throwing action was like, maybe I should throw it to the back, and then it just went to nobody. And I was like, man, we haven't seen a play like that from Drake in a while. And then obviously the pick six, it was kind of a unique formation, right? Like they put a lineman out. Hunter was basically playing like the tackle position, trying to get the Bengals kind of out of place. And for a second, I was like, he's got Hunter. And then the ball just sailed over his head. And it was like, man, we haven't seen Drake Maye play like this in a while. But then all of a sudden, as quick as he played poorly, it was like the fingers snapped and then he was locked in, and it was incredible. And Hunter was obviously his go-to guy on Sunday, and there were some really well-designed plays that got Hunter involved. And I would say, even going back to Drake's rookie year, Hunter has been like the security blanket. And so things aren't going well. What does he do? He tries to find Hunter Henry. And then some of the other throws that he made were just incredible. The middle read to Pop Douglas down the middle of the field, throwing it around the Mike linebacker in Tampa 2.
The third down?
Yeah, and it was backed up.
I thought that was almost the play of the game, because that was kind of, to me, a turning point. Like, get backed up, field position. They could have unraveled a little bit there. That, to me, was such a huge play, personally.
Yeah, it was. And I think, and then he hit a few other deep passes, one to Mac Hollins, who keeps showing up week after week. And I think the one thing that we've always said about this receiver position is we don't know who's going to show up and who's going to be the main guy each week. And I think that's the beauty of this offense is you can kind of create the game plan around what the opposing defense doesn't do well. And so clearly, obviously, I mentioned Hunter became the go-to guy, but that was a part of the plan. They didn't just draw that up on the sideline. Like, they knew that the tight ends would be a big part of that scheme. They did a good job with that. And as you said, David, look, people are asking, should we be worried? Is it, the way they won the game, it wasn't pretty, coupled with the injuries. Is this something to be concerning about going forward? And as I said before, it looks, by all accounts, that they may have gotten away with some minor injuries. This isn't season-ending for Wilson or for Will Campbell, which would be huge. And honestly, your biggest point is, the biggest takeaway is they won the game. And Vrabel talked about it in the locker room, and you could see, and this is what I love about our modern-day coverage of teams, seeing the post-game speeches in the locker room. And we've seen a lot of excitement and joy out of this team a lot during the season. But in the locker room, you could tell, like, it was almost a reality check. All right, we didn't play our best. We won the game. We're not satisfied. Plus, we're dealing with potential big injuries for our team. And you could see how serious they took that. And I really like that from their team, because when you can have that attitude after a win as opposed to a loss, I think that's growth. I think that they've put themselves in position now where, with these injuries, you can feel comfortable of maybe saying, all right, MCL injury for Campbell, we'll put him on IR. It's 4 games, but we've put ourselves. We need him in January now. They're gonna make the playoffs. The reality is, winning a sloppy game like that, it just creates more distance between you and the next team, and it creates a safer space going forward, saying, we know we're going to need to be healthy when we get to the playoffs. And now, the same thing with Milton Williams, right? All right, could you maybe make it a 2 or 3 week recovery? Yeah, probably. Tape them up and do those things. But they have the foresight now to be able to say, we're going to be in the playoffs. And if we're going to do that, we're going to have to win some of these gritty games, especially, look, you go to Cincinnati, they're not a great team. It's not the best atmosphere. You can kind of get lulled to sleep, so to speak. David, you and I have been
coming off the 10 days of rest. Yeah, whatever you want to call it, however long it was, 10, 9 days.
And so I think that was all things that kind of went into it. And I would say they came away with the win. That's always a positive. When we look back at this season, are we really going to say, beating Cincinnati 26-20 was a difference maker in how the season ended up? No, you're going to say it was a W. It got them that much closer to being the number 1 seed. It got them that much closer to winning the division. That's what counts. And I think going forward, you asked Danny, like someone your buddies asked, like, should they lose a game coming up here to try to reset themselves? A game like this, winning it, can do that for a team. And I think that's what the takeaway will be. Look, they get a little bit time to recover because you know that you're going to be in the playoffs. Let those guys get healthy and make it for the run. And also at the same time, it's like, hey, if we don't bring our best, even with a team that we should come out here and really beat, it could be a close game. And so it's a wake-up call without having to take that L.
Yeah, before talking injuries and all that, like, you asked my perspective as a fan, it feels like the glory days coming in here talking negatively about a win. Like, that's what is exciting for us. Like, we won the football game, we're talking negatively. Last year, you look at it, we go to Cincinnati, we beat Cincinnati week 1, and it felt like we won the Super Bowl. Now we go to Cincinnati, we beat them, and, we have all these bad things to say about the football team. So I feel like it's a good spot as a fan.
I would say this, Hoy, and I don't know about you. I've never thought coming in on a Monday after losing a game when you're a good football team and being like, oh, that loss was good for us.
No.
I don't – like, I hated – like, losing sucked.
It was never –
and I did a lot of it toward the end of my career. But, I never – when we were good – like in 18 – when we lost to the Dolphins in Pittsburgh back-to-back, I never was like, man, this is going to teach us a good lesson. Yeah. Like, I was like panicking, like, oh my gosh, we stink
I think
now.
Hindsight, you may look back and be like, hey, those 2 games were a wake-up call for us. But while it's happening, the sky is falling, and there's no there's no
you go on to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
you go on to win the Super Bowl, you look back and you're like, we needed that. That was good for us. But in the moment, you can't retrospectively look at it like that. I don't know. For me, the most concerning, and especially with just how the game went, was the run game for a bunch of things, right? Because, Hoy, like we just mentioned, your quarterback's struggling, right?
Yep.
What's one way you get a quarterback to get back in rhythm, run the football.
Yep.
Get some first downs, let them hit some play action, some quick throws, easy throws. But when you're 2nd and 9, those easy throws don't become 2nd and 4, or 3rd and 3, something like that. Like the run game as a whole right now, and I think it's been covered up because of how good the quarterback's been playing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like and you kind of even mentioned that last week, right? We kind of got into this debate. Yeah, and it does look good because the quarterback been playing lights out, and he played really good for most of the game. But there was some
something
time
interesting? He threw for the most career in a single game,
Dude,
most yards ever.
So I do this show, Patriots, this week, and each week we got to make a prediction. I was like, this is Drake Maye's first 300-yard passing game, and if he didn't play so poorly in the first quarter, he would have had it. You know what I mean? So it was pretty amazing how quickly he was able to snap out of that funk, and then really get back to the player that we've expected him. I think that's the one thing is he's played so well, David, that the expectation level now is that he's going to be at an elite level at all the time. And the reality is,
agree.
The reality is he's 23. Look, I was sitting there watching the game with Garrett and Lauren, and I mentioned that throw before where he was like throwing it to Hunter and mid-throw, like changed his mind and threw it to no one. And I was like, what is going on? And Lauren's like, oh, you sound like the typical fan right now. Like, and I go, yeah, but you know what the crazy part is? Like, we've just come to expect him to be so efficient and really not have before this past week, I can't think back to a play where he threw a ball to like the wrong read, made a poor decision. Like I know he's had some interceptions, but one was like a miscommunication with Hunter. The other was like an overthrow. And the first quarter of this game, I was like, wait, who is this guy? This isn't who we're accustomed to. And then you got to think back to a second, like, oh yeah, he's only 23 years old. He's played at a really high level, but to expect him to do that every single play of every single quarter, I think, look, we're kind of fast forwarding a little bit because of the success, but he got like that. I would say this, having played the position, when you get in a funk, it's very hard to get back out. It's like a pitcher with the yips, or it's like a.
But that's what I'm saying though. If he doesn't have a run game, that's not going. Like he might not do that. He did do it, and my hat's off to him for what he went out there and did. But if he doesn't have a run game to rely on, you're going to get 3 and out in the first quarter. Yep. It's going to be 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. He's not in a rhythm. He doesn't feel good for whatever's going on, whatever reason.
Yeah.
And that's why the game looks like that. And then it puts Josh in a tough position because he can't move the football running. The quarterback's struggling. He just threw a pick 6. You really want to get him settled, and you can't do it without a run game. And then you get to the goal line, and you can't run the football in. Yeah,
why don't you delve deeper on that? Because I got a lot of questions from people asking me, why like, what is it? Like, why can't they run it in? Is it a call it, run it situation on there? And look, without being in the meetings, you and I don't know, because we've been a part of goal line where there's alerts. We've been a part of goal line plays that are call it, run it's. You are the one who's the forefront of the attack on a lot of those. What did you see from those goal line runs that they just weren't able to power it in?
They're not getting any movement. Yeah. They're in the backfield, and since he's resetting the line of scrimmage, on the goal line, look, it's not an elaborate scheme, right? Everybody runs really. If you get into goal line offense, right? How many different runs are there? 4?
Yeah, not many.
Outside left, outside right,
inside,
middle right, middle left, and then some people pull. That's really all the runs there are.
Yep.
On the goal line.
And also, the one thing, like you would say, you're going to have 2 unblocked guys. One guy's handing a football off and one guy's running it. You can only block.
I'm not even worried. If you can't push people off the ball, the unblocked guys don't even matter.
Exactly.
And especially on the goal line, a lot of times the unblocked guys, you can formate it to where they're on the backside. Yep. You can do different things where they're out of the play because it's such a quick hitter versus call it a regular run with safeties and cornerbacks and different things like that. But that to me, that was just the most concern. Like, I don't know, concerning. Yeah, sure. Or just disappointing. You're watching plays where it's like no one's scoring with their guy. No one's putting their guy in the end zone.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that on the goal line, it's not that much about technique. It's not that much about scheme. It's really just more about attitude. And it's I'm going to go get this guy, and it's me versus him. I'm going to do this. He can't stop me. Line up whoever it is. I don't give a damn. We're going to score. And I just don't see that out of them right now. And people are kind of, play calling. Boy, you know this. How many different pass concepts can you really run from the 5-yard in? Like it's 12, 15 yards of space. It's not a lot of. Yeah. It's hard to throw down there. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, that's why red zone offense is such a premium. And if you're one of the better teams in the red zone, you usually end up being one of those teams who not only makes the playoffs but has more an extensive run because the defense has less area to cover, right? And also, what do we say? Most teams down there, they're either going to all max coverage or max pressure. There's really no in between, right? They either bring the house or they drop enough people in because you're trying to throw it. And there was a play where they tried to run it in on 4th down. Right, and it didn't go in, and
that was the RPO, which I don't have a problem with. If you've got a good quarterback, like Drake, don't you want the ball? Like I'm confident in going down with Drake's decision at this point in his career.
And
aren't you?
Yeah, of course. And I think the one thing. And I think you would agree with me on this, David, because we were in those meetings together, and you get to this time of the year, and Bill would say it, and Vrabel's from the same culture and understanding of we are. Football season starts after Thanksgiving, and if you've put yourself in position to be in the hunt after Thanksgiving, this is the time where the team really understands who they are. But also, I always remember saying, if you can add a wrinkle or two down the stretch of things that teams haven't seen you do, and if that now where you're at, and not necessarily in the rest of the regular season, but when you get to the postseason, I would love to see them incorporate a few more maybe design runs with Drake or zone read RPOs, because they haven't done a lot of it this year. And it may come down to, the divisional round, and it's 4th and 2 down in that area. And all of a sudden, remember, we had all these runs with Cam when Cam Newton was here. Like, if Josh has experience in doing that, if you can add that down in that red area, and that's the difference in the game, because you can score on 4th down as opposed to getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage or whatever it might be. Like, that's something, and now you really don't have to show it for another few weeks because they're in such good shape. So I wouldn't be shocked if what Josh starts doing here, because even with a lot of trick plays that we ran over the years, we would always practice them 4 or 5 weeks in advance before we actually got to the point where we wanted to call it. So I don't disagree with you, David. I think with the guy who's playing at an MVP type level, who has athleticism, the more two-way options you give him in those scenarios, I'm going to ride with Drake and making the right decision. And the rest of the team has to do their job, to execute as well.
I mean, look, if you come away with points, they were 0 for 2 in the red area. You come away with points right there. Yeah. Even if it's 10, it's 36-20. Yeah. And you're like,
yeah, it feels different.
What are we probably doing today? Probably like, oh, you had the one bad interception, and
Well, I also
great
don't want to
game.
be.
Everybody's good.
I don't want to be considered like the homers because we're the former players. We have relationships with those people. This was the first game where I looked and I was like, you know what? I'm glad they got the win, but there's a lot of things they got to clean up if they want to make the run that we were hyping them up about last week, right? Like,
I thought it was one of their worst games since.
I would agree. And it's a good thing is you can say it's one of your worst games and you won a road game. That's 9 in a row. What is that? 6 games on the road that they've won?
I'll have to look.
Sarah?
I think they're undefeated on the road.
On
the road. And David, it'd be great to get the 1 seed, but and we've said this many times on this show, what's the favorite game of your career?
Kansas City, 18.
Beating them on the road. And so they've proven that it doesn't matter where they go, hostile environment, don't have their best game, they can pull out a win.
I have one more thing on the run game before we move on. Crazy stat I'm stealing from Tom Curran's Patriots Talks podcast. The aftermath, the show is great. But on 3rd and 10 to 15 yards, they pass the ball. They're 11 for 24 this year, almost 50%.
Yeah.
On 3rd and 1, they've run the ball 12 times, and they've gotten 7 first downs. They're about 50%. So they're 50% from the 3rd and 1, running the ball, 50% from 3rd to 10 to 15 passing the ball.
That's diabolical. That's a diabolical stat. I like it. My brain is oozing out of my ear trying to figure out how that's possible.
Bad.
50%?
50% from 3rd and 1 running the football.
Oh, 3rd and 1, sorry. But the third and long, 50%, you take that. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I think the league average is like 20% at that
3rd
point.
and long, sometimes you're like, all right. If I got
down,
I got one guy I'm going to throw to, and if he's not there, I'm going to check it down and punt the football. So it's actually pretty good.
Or you're running a draw or a quick screen.
I know people hate it, but it's like you're not putting the ball in harm's way. The reality is you don't have a good chance. But I get what you're saying. From 3rd and 1. That's where, as you said, David, it's about attitude, because sometimes the whole building knows what, the whole stadium knows what's going to happen. And honestly, sometimes where the most important part of that mentality comes up is 4-minute offense, right? David, you would agree, 4-minute offense, you got the lead, you have to finish with the ball.
Love 4-minute offense.
Yeah, and it's about a mentality. It's about a mentality.
And again, before moving on, because David, I want you to talk about the injuries on the offensive line. The running back room, Travion Henderson had 18 carries. He had 66 yards. Mondre only had 6 carries for 5 yards. Do you think that will flip next week? Was Mondre going to get more touches, or is Travion the number 1 running back?
I think for right now with Mondre's situation, you're not just going to put a guy who hasn't played in a few weeks. Yeah. What has it been, 3 weeks?
Yep.
4? He's not going to come in and have 28 carries week 1.
Yeah.
And look, he struggled in the game a little bit production-wise. So that's probably a little bit just getting back into the field, different things like that. He's going to get better the more he plays. And I don't know. The injuries on the offensive line, I will say this. The O-line – the O-line's kind of a pretzel to me right now, because there's things that I really like and there's things that drive me insane, like the run game. Drake's been under pressure.
Correlation.
Huh?
It's hard to understand. It's all twisted.
A puzzle or a pretzel?
A pretzel, my brain's twisted.
Okay, I got it. All right.
It's twisted.
Just wanted to confirm that I was on the same page with you there.
Well, because this is my thing. I don't think the O-line's been amazing, but you also don't win not 10 games without your O-line being good enough to win 10 games. You know what I mean? Yeah. Do you understand now?
Yeah, I do. I understand. I wasn't sure if it was with your southern draw, if you said a puzzle or a pretzel.
No, a pretzel.
Let's assume the worst for Will Campbell.
Okay.
And he's out for the year. How detrimental to the football team is that?
Can I take this and then you can give your take? Because I'm gonna give a philosophical version. There's no offensive coordinator I would rather.
Are you saying I'm dumb?
No. I'm gonna let you give the physical part of how an offensive line has to overcome that. The guys. I'm gonna talk about Josh for a second and say there's not an offensive coordinator that I've been around or that I've seen that can hide weaknesses by scheming it up better than he will. And so I would say, David, we've seen it before, whether it was dealing with injuries or whatever it might be. Hey, we're only going to call this play on the left hash because we're not going to get so-and-so matched up with Aaron Donald. We're only going to – this is a one-way call. We're only going to call this play – maybe it's a shot play to Booty. We can only call this play if Myles Garrett's off the field. We saw that in Cleveland. And so I would say there's if this is where – you get to this part, having a guy like Josh with his experience. I know a lot of people before said, do we really want to bring him back? Maybe we bring in this young, new West Coast offensive mind. This is where experience and having done it several times, different situations, different scenarios, is gonna pay off, because he's gonna go into the game plan and say, okay, where can we get beat? We got Vidarian Lowe having to play left tackle. All right, when I call any pass that's not meant to be out of Drake's hands in 2 seconds, we're going to call it a certain way. We're going to chip. We're going to slam. We're going to do all of those things. And so that's why I would say, worst case scenario, Will Campbell doesn't come back. You're thankful that you have a coordinator who knows how to handle that. And now, David, you can kind of talk about, because it might not just be Will Campbell, it could be Wilson. So now your whole left side of the line, and you've hit on it before, having to see things through the same set of eyes, having to be on the same level and in double teams, and how does that affect the unit of the offensive line?
Well, Beetle on 98.5 the other day, he said the only reason he's confident is because of Josh McDaniels. And I think that's a good place to be. And he's right. And for the reasons you just explained, you know what I mean? And, look, they've had the same guys out there for 11 of the 12 starts. That is huge.
Huge.
There's been things that have gotten better and things that have just kind of been what it is. Now you're losing your 2 starters. So it does a few things to you, similar to like the Milton Williams thing. So Ben Brown was your swing guy inside, right? So the way that works is you really want a guy on the roster that can play both guard positions and the center position. Ted Karras used to be the guy for us that did that. And I thought Ben did a great job, whatever week that was, 4 or 5 or 3 when Jared Wilson was out earlier. But now what's happened, now Ben Brown's obviously going to get pushed into the starter position. Now you're going to limit what Ben Brown can do in the jumbo package, right?
Yep.
So then your next thing in the jumbo package was Verdarian Lowe, probably. Well, now Verdarian Lowe's got to go to left tackle. So now you've lost those 2 jumbo guys. You've lost your backup on the inside. So now you got to make sure you find someone that can snap the football, because if Bradbury goes down, then, you know, what are you going to do? Put Ben Brown at center? Then you got to find another left guard. Or if Ben Brown goes down, now you have no backup center. So, you know, it just, the numbers, the way they work in the NFL, it just makes you very thin. So that's going to be some challenge for the football team. You know, but now you've got, you know, 3 new guys on the left side, let's say, between Bradbury and those guys, because Bradbury hasn't played a lot with them. Lowe, you know, played a lot of football last year, but hasn't had a lot of reps in Josh McDaniels' system, which, you know, we both would agree that we don't think it's a hard system, but it is a very intricate system, right?
And different, and very different from what he did last year.
Exactly. And everyone, once you get it, it's a very easy system. And you've seen, I think, the O-line, especially in a lot of the pass blocking stuff, there hasn't been a lot of mental errors, which has been great. But look, it's going to be a challenge. Like, it is a challenge for any football team when you lose starting offensive linemen. Like, I don't care. There's not a team in the NFL that loses 2 of their starters, no matter how good or how bad people think they are. That is like, oh, okay, this is going to be okay. No big deal. You know, like, that just doesn't exist. So it's going to be a challenge. Hopefully, like we said, these reports, whether they're just blowing smoke up our ass or what, but, you know, I mean, you would think that, you know, 4 to 5 weeks for both of these injuries, hopefully, you know, and give these guys a few games. Well, I guess 4 to 5 weeks. Hell,
playoffs.
God dang, we're already
week 1.
We're already
I know,
in week
the playoffs.
12.
You know, it's crazy. And I thought about this, David, and this is kind of a weird way to look at it. But sometimes you get to this time of the season and you can see some rookies maybe hit what they call the rookie wall. And I was kind of wondering, like, for Campbell and Wilson to get like a little bit of rest now. This isn't good rest in my opinion. I know. I guess I'm just saying, like, it kind of is almost similar to like bowl season back in the day when you would take like kind of a month and you'd have bowl prep. I get it. Like, they're going to be rehabbing. They're not going to play football. It's very hard, especially now they're going to come back. And you would probably agree with me. The speed of the game when you get to the postseason is even, I would say, a little bit faster. And so
it's crazy.
They're going to go from not playing as rookies because they're going to have to deal with these injuries, rehabbing, and they're probably most likely, maybe they get back, but the Patriots could be in the place where that last game, maybe they're resting starters because the playoffs have determined. So maybe they're not going to play a snap of real football again until the playoffs. If that's probably best case scenario. So it'd be interesting to see how they keep them ready.
They don't pay me to run the football team, but if that's the case and you're resting guys, these 2 jokers are playing for me. I'm just telling you. The rookies are going out there and playing. Like, you guys are going out there. It's preseason. Get your shit on.
Yeah.
We're going to get better, you know, but I don't know. I kind of want to shout out Joe Flacco, dude, just to change the subject here. I think this dude is so tough.
Yeah,
my hat's off to him, man. Dislocating his finger on his throwing hand, dealing with the AC
and he just just held the finger
sitting
up
at the bar, no kids.
Unfortunately for Flacco, though, Burrow's back this week.
Yeah, I mean, that's not unfortunate.
Yeah,
he was brought there to hold the fort down until Burrow came back.
Sure.
He understood that.
Sure.
I've known Joe.
I like Flacco.
Joe and I have the same agent, so I've known Joe since
Seems like
2009. And he's just like the cool, like, when you say Joe cool, he, like, you know, flatline, right? And like threw the pick, and like he knew it, and he was like, all right, I can just go out and keep slinging it, right? And at 41 or 42 years old, like still playing, and he had a great
I think
quote.
he's in the best position. Like, you just get to go out there and gunsling it. Who cares what happens?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Speaking of Joe's dependable, speaking of dependable players.
Yeah, I think we got to get to our dependable player here. All right, now it's time for the FW Web Dependable Player of the Game. At FW Web, people and relationships come first, and you can always count on FW Web to find the right products and solutions for your next project. Here's the player the Patriots counted on to bring home the win, the Hammer Man, a former guest, two-time guest on this show, Hunter Henry, the security blanket for Drake Maye, 7 catches, 115 yards. Look, when someone needed to step up on the offense, it just seemed like he was there. I love the touchdown pass, a well-designed play. David and I were texting right away. You run the sweep motion, a little play-action fake. The defense is all split apart. And David, I thought it was a play that you and I were familiar with. They even put a little wrinkle on. They ran like a scissors concept over there, take the corner out away from the flag, and really got the offense going. But look, go back to when Drake first kind of took over as the quarterback for the Patriots, the guy that when things are, he needs to go to get things going, it's always been Hunter Henry.
Yeah, maybe it was with Barth the other day doing his podcast, and he had said something like Hunter's been quiet, and I forget if I said it or not, but I was thinking about it, like, that's not a bad thing, because it's not like he hasn't been out there. Other guys have just been having great games, which is great for the offense. It's not like, all right, if Hunter doesn't have 100 yards, we're going to throw for only like 170 yards, Other guys have been eating, and he's always made plays during the game, but it's just been, like 3 to 4 catches here recently. But like you said, when things got a little murky, when things, try to settle it down, who do you go to? Your go-to guy for a long time, someone the coordinator trusts, the quarterback trusts, it's going to be in the right spot. You find your guy, Hunter Henry, Mr. Dependable. There he is.
On jobs large and small across 16 disciplines, FW Web has the selection, in-stock inventory, expertise, solutions, and people to get the job done right. For more than 150 years, FW Web has been the trusted partner for professionals across the Northeast, delivering what you need, when and where you need it. Because at FW Web, they believe relationships, trust, and dependable service matter. FW Web, where every customer counts.
All right, well, there was a lot of news this week, right, between the starting quarterback and I guess the number 1 rated show on sports television. Stephen A. said, what was
Quick
it?
Snap's number 1, but yeah, first take.
Well, no, I mean, Quick Snap, it's only right for the Quick Snap, the number 1 podcast at NBC Sports, to cover what the number 1 ESPN show
You
said.
can just say whatever you want. People got to still fact check it, so that could be true. Danny would know better than us.
You can't find the ratings.
I'm not going to say we're number 1 at NBC Sports Boston. Not yet.
Well, I said it, and that's all that matters.
Okay, Stephen A.
We'll talk to Phil Perry and Tom Curran.
And whoever said they did it is a liar. No, all right. Look, this is ridiculous, by the way, first of all. Like, this whole I think Cam has some type of bone to pick with Drake Maye. No clue why. I don't have any problem with what Drake Maye said for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think he was being disrespectful to Cam Newton or anyone else, but that's the normal football answer. I don't know what shows he's on. I'm not worried about it. They get paid to make I'm worried about what's going on in this football building. What's being said in here? I would say the same thing if, no offense, but like a beat writer in Boston, but I'd be like, I don't even know what newspaper he works for. Like, because that's just how football players talk, I think, personally. And it's not trying to be disrespectful. You're not trying to discredit anyone. But then also in Drake's defense, these ESPN dudes are on like 9 separate shows.
Yep.
You got NFL Live, you got Get Up, you've got Sports Center, and Monday Night Football, Sunday, Scott Van Pelt, like they're just all on these different shows,
You didn't
and they
even
all
mention
make
the number one
different
show, did he? First Take.
First Take. Well,
You
that's
didn't
the show.
even mention it.
That's the show
First
they were
Take.
on.
That's the show they were on.
And the weird part is,
I thought it was Get Up.
exactly.
There's too much. It's oversaturated, and Stephen A's
that's
on
what
all
I'm
of
saying.
them, right?
Yeah.
They're
Stephen
all
A's on
No, he's
everything.
not on all of them. He's
Okay.
First Take's his show. First
Yeah.
Take's his show.
Yeah, First Takes his show, but
Okay.
all the like Ryan Clark's on a bunch of them. Jason McCourty's on a bunch of them.
Yep.
Like it's Dan Orlovsky's on a bunch of them. I feel like it's just one of those things. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I think it was way out of line for Stephen A to call Drake a liar. What Drake's like? Someone said to me one time, they were like, "Oh, you don't watch SportsCenter?" I'm like, "No, I'm working every day."
The weird thing
Like
is
the only time
go ahead.
I watch SportsCenter is like I've watched more SportsCenter this year than I ever have before, and it's not even that much. It's for 10 minutes. Turn it on real quick, and most of the time it's at 6 a.m. when no kids are around. You know what I mean? Like,
what is the hours of First Take? Just so we can kind of give people an idea of what Drake's actually doing during those hours.
it's what
I'm
9 to
90%.
12 or
No, I'm 90% sure it starts at 10 a.m. and it ends
10
at
to
noon.
12.
Yeah,
So,
get
David,
ups at 9 to 10.
Let's just walk people through on a Monday, 10 to 12. What are we doing? We're either reviewing the film as a team, then you break into
Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
10 to 12, you're working out rehab treatment.
Yeah, so like
Right.
you might
And then
you might have a TV on in the training room, maybe if they
Without
let it.
sound.
Well, and not only that, back in the day,
I think Nico said it best. All those shows are on TV where there needs to be TV play, like airports, barbershops, whatever, and there's no sound.
No sound.
So you don't
can't
even
hear
know
'em.
what they're saying. It's just there.
And the weird
I don't
part
know,
is
but,
that
like-
Drake's a Cam Newton fan. Like he's from North
Yeah.
Carolina. He grew up. We did the Superman celebration earlier this year after that touchdown.
Yep.
And he's a big Cam Newton fan. And then in the pregame, you see Stephon Diggs go up to him and he tried to do the Superman, and Drake just shook his head.
There was
and then they did a different handshake.
there was like a great meme or gif, I don't know, whatever it is, and it was, Cam was on the red carpet at the draft with Drake, and Drake had this big smile, and it was like, don't ever meet your heroes.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I saw that.
That's got to be, but good for Drake to kind of be his own guy. I think David, I agree with you. What he said, there's no way that Drake is, first of all, watching First Take, knows because of how they rotate people through, who's on what show, what the ratings are. Like, that's not, he's focused on playing football right now. And so I think, it was a wild take. And then to call him a liar on national TV, and I think he
Just inappropriate.
He tried to walk it back and be like, I was kind of joking around. Like, that's always the go-to, right? Say something outlandish and be like, it was a joke. Well, no one took it as a joke the way he said it. I mean, El Prez, like Dave Portnoy had like an emergency press conference. It was like, you got to apologize to this man. Like, you can't just go calling people a liar. That's like questioning someone's character.
And it's not Cam's fault. He was talking about the schedule, which is easy, right?
Yeah.
That's just a fact.
Yeah.
And it's Stephen A's job to get headlines and clicks and views, and that's, if there's anything Stephen A's good at, it's that.
Maybe we need to do a better job of that.
Well, you guys aren't too controversial.
I've been trying.
I don't want to be. I guess as a player, I didn't like when people would be controversial, and so for me, now that I'm in this role, I don't want to do that. And if that means that we're not going to get the clicks or we're not going to get the likes, like I'd rather have my character and integrity than try to go out there and like, look, I love Cam. You and I play with Cam. I really
love to play with Cam.
I enjoyed him, but to Drake's point, Cam is new to the business, and he is going to go out there and he's going to make his points. And that's what's great about having former players and people who've been around it. You can come in and give your perspective, and Drake and I don't necessarily disagree with what Cam's saying, but I've been on here every day and say, well, what do you want the Patriots to do? Schedule harder opponents next year? Like, that's not how it works. So the whole schedule argument, to me, and I've said it a million times, is there's nothing they can do about it. And I did see Vrabel. They asked Vrabel about it, I think either yesterday or today, and he was like, I kind of question if First Take is the number one show. He's like, it's definitely not the Sports Center I grew up with. That was the greatest thing as a kid.
True.
You wake up as a kid and
Watch
you
it
get your
10 times.
cereal and
Stuart
watch
Scott.
Stuart Scott, Berman, the classics.
I don't know. I did see a clip of like Ryan Clark and Orlovsky. Is that, I don't even know how you say his name. Was that right?
Dan Orlovsky.
Right.
Great.
You nailed it.
God, I'm a genius, dude. But they like dunked on Cam doing something. I saw some clip. In 90% of the clips I would say you see on First Take and these ESPN shows, to me, are on Twitter and Instagram, right?
Yeah. For the clips are a huge
Like,
part of media.
Yeah, but I don't, like, I could tell you some, like, even the stuff I've known about the Cam Newton, Stephen A, like, it wasn't because I was watching First Take. It was because I'm on Twitter and the 19 million people I follow, mention stuff about it.
No doubt.
You guys are getting better at media. You're getting better at Twitter. You're getting better at the show. It's
I
good
got
to see.
into it with some guy this past week. Did you guys see this? The starting quarterback of a Minnesota high school team won the state championship, but he was also the Blackhawks' first-round pick. Yeah. And I thought it was like an incredible story, being a parent myself now, and with youth sports, David, you'll get there one day. There's so much of this, like, you got to play this sport year round. You shouldn't play multiple sports. And I thought, what a great example. Like, this kid's already been drafted by the Blackhawks in the first round. The Blackhawks are literally encouraging him to play football, and he goes out and wins a state championship with his boys, the kids that he grew up with. It was a great story. And I had people coming at me in the comments being like, this isn't true. This is not what's happening. It's clearly happening. I even retweeted, is it Spittin' Chicklets?
Yeah.
And the guy was one of the guys, I don't know these guys yet. I've started to watch their
Biz, Ryan
videos.
Whitney.
But Biz and Whit.
Yans.
And he was like, hats off to the guys, the people in Minnesota who encourage these kids. They may be the greatest hockey player, but they're going to let them play football. And the one guy who he must be from Massachusetts is like, dude, here, like, we got to take a better approach to this, because you feel like you're pulled in all these different directions. And if a coach ever tells you or your kid to specialize in sport before they've reached, the senior year level, I think they're just doing everybody a disservice. So, I like engaging, but there's certain things that I believe in.
Well, and Drake Maye I don't think he was an All-American, but he could have played D1 basketball. He was a stud.
What did Saban say about him?
Yeah, he was at first row at his basketball game.
Saban was there and was like, I loved seeing that this kid was competitive. He was athletic. We knew we were going to have a hard time prying him away from North Carolina because his whole family went there. His brothers played basketball there. But look, if you're good enough in one sport, people are going to know, and they're going to say, like, it's okay if you play. Like, if anything, David, do you remember in 2018 at the Super Bowl, we have to do the media week. Everybody has to go down. And, for guys like me who weren't really involved in the game, you get the random people come over and talk to you. And there was a guy from USA Today, and he was doing a poll of all the players on the active roster of both teams, how many were multiple varsity letter winners in high school at different sports? And I saw the article.
Well, David Andrews, lacrosse goalie. Dude, how did that translate to the NFL?
But then my lacrosse coach wouldn't let me go work out, so I ended up quitting.
Maybe you were one of the guys, but out of 106 players in the Super Bowl, the Rams and the Patriots, there was only 3, I believe, that only had a varsity letter in football.
You were a very good baseball player.
Yeah, I mean, I played in my senior year after the football season with the intent of going to play at Michigan State, and I had people along the way be like, hey, maybe you should focus more on football. And I'm like, I love baseball. I don't know what my future is going to hold. And the reality is, until you get to the college level, if you're fortunate enough to do that, you don't know what your future holds. You might as well enjoy your childhood. I'm sure, we give you shit, but you played Division One. Colgate is Division One, right?
No, yes, it is.
Division One college lacrosse, but you also played high school football,
now
right?
that he's sitting next
I played high school football. I played high school basketball and lacrosse.
And I would be
What position did you play in football?
Tight end, receiver.
Ew.
ISL champ, shout out Governor's Academy, 4 years in a row.
I'd be willing to bet when you look back at your athletic career, those are some of the greatest moments you can remember. And if let's just say you knew you were going to go lacrosse and you missed your Governor's championship, ISL championship in football, like, would that have been worth it?
And the thing is, playing multiple sports teaches you life lessons. Like, I was never a professional athlete, but now in the real world, corporate world, you learn a lot from working in teams and playing other sports.
So we went on a rant, but if you're a parent out there, encourage your kid to play as many sports as possible. I think it's, first, you don't get burnout. Second, you cross-train. And I think, like Danny said, you learn about life. You learn about being a good teammate, which then translates to being a good friend, husband, father, all of those things.
So think about focusing on football.
Yep.
I'm a little scared of the Giants for 2 reasons.
Okay.
Their pass rush.
Yep.
Brian Burns, Abdul Carter,
Thibodeau, and Sexy
Dexy.
Yep.
And I'm more scared if Jameis Winston plays quarterback than Jackson Dart.
I think Dart's going to be back.
I agree. Jabu.
I love Jameis.
Well, Brian or David, why don't you talk about the defensive line right now for a second, like going up against this?
Yeah. So obviously, this got brought up, right? They let go of their defensive coordinator. So anytime you play some interim coach, right? Interim offensive coordinator, interim head coach, interim DC. What are those coaches interviewing for right there?
The next job.
So you can expect they got nothing to lose, right? Because there's a good chance they're not going to be where they are next year. They're trying to get, and a lot of times it's maybe like a linebacker coach who, never been a play caller. This is a shot to try to get into that role. So I would expect the DC for the Giants to not have a conservative game plan. Like there's going to be something he probably wants to do to get noticed and recognized and talked about. I mean, Hoy, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we've always said?
We've
right?
said it before.
So like, whether that's some type of elaborate blitz, aggressive calling the game, like, because then, it's primetime Monday Night Football. You're going to have Aikman and Buck up there being like, so-and-so, I don't even know what this guy's name is. So-and-so, this interim DC, great game plan, all this stuff. And so you got to be concerned about that. This is a team with nothing to lose in the Giants, right? Like these coaches, and you always see that, right? The trick plays last week. Like you always see stuff that, maybe you wouldn't see if it was the normal coaching staff per se, because they just, like I said, they're playing with reckless abandon. There's nothing to lose. If they win, great. If not, oh well. So,
I think the fact that you mentioned it's a Monday Night Football game with the whole country watching, it's multiply that times two, and now they have it on both sides.
Yeah.
You already talked about, we saw our boy Gunnar Olszewski throwing a touchdown pass to Jameis last week. Like they have literally nothing to lose when it comes to the coaching staff. They're all assuming that they're not going to be back, and so what they're doing now is auditioning for the rest of the league, similarly to like a player in the preseason in that last preseason game. And so you're right. There's nothing more dangerous than going against a talented team that has nothing to lose and a coaching staff who's going to basically try to scheme up every way to go out and beat you. You have the injuries at offensive line. I'm sure this interim defensive coordinator is going to say, Charlie Bolin, how do I unleash this defensive line on a offensive line that's dealing with injuries, on a quarterback in Drake Maye? Drake Maye's in the MVP candidacy. Like, how can I make him look bad on national TV?
Yeah, he goes out there and makes this offense look terrible. Like, that's a check mark on his resume next year.
Notch on the belt.
So,
and the Giants went to overtime with the Lions in Detroit last week.
Look, Jameis.
Yeah, like I don't think this is like a cakewalk the Pats are walking into.
Not at all.
Now, I think you feel really good where your team's at. They come out Monday night, hair on fire, fired up, ready to go at home and, beat this team 34-7. Like you just feel really good where the team's at that point, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is you got to go in understanding, and we've been in those games before. I've actually been on the other side, maybe you not as much, of like when the coach has already been fired, it kind of becomes, there's a little bit of, the pressure's off, so to speak, right? No one expects anything out of you anyways. And I think when you're on the opposite side of that, if you're the Patriots this week, it's like you have to basically be on high alert at all times. Trick plays, exotic blitzes, all of those things. And if you can answer those things, you're a better team than the New York Giants. And so you just have to be head on a swivel, hyper aware of something that could be, turning its ugly head at any moment. And so you just, where you dive into your preparation, because they can't, every play can't be a trick play. Every play can't be a blitz zero. And if they do, guess what? You'll make an adjustment and you hit them for a big one and then they're out of it. So it'll be a challenge. This is not going to be one of those like go in there and just slap it out there, which this team has not done that at all this season. So I don't expect them to do it, but they have to just be hyper vigilant about knowing you're playing a team with nothing to lose. It's December. You weren't on teams like this very often, David, but you break the will of a team like that early in the game. they start thinking
Yes.
about Cancun, what vacation am I going to go on? How do I stay healthy? I don't know what the situation's going to be here next year. If you let them free agency, if you give them life early in the game, which I kind of felt that's what happened in Cincinnati. You kind of gave a team that was reeling a little bit, and their energy was better than the Patriots in the beginning of the game. Like, you have to take the energy out of the Giants very early on Monday night, or you're going to be in a dogfight. All right, this week's legendary moment presented by Miller Lite. Legendary stories start with a light. Here's to 50 years of Miller time, and we're going to go back to 2010, where my co-host David Andrews was a junior in high school. This was my second year in the NFL. You're making me feel old. Danny, where were you?
I was 14 years old.
14 years old.
8th grade.
There it is. We had the throwback unis, which was awesome. And this was an interesting game because I think going into the fourth quarter, if I remember correctly, it was tied 24-24. And then we just had this offensive explosion. There was a block, and David, you may have seen this over the years. Rob Gronkowski had a crack play like Salt or Ritz or whatever we used to call it back then, and he absolutely obliterated Kyle Vanden Bosch. You remember Kyle Vanden Bosch was this defensive end, and he had no idea Gronk was coming. This was Gronk's rookie year, and he absolutely, I think it ended his career. He broke bones in his neck. But for me, Thanksgiving always was synonymous with football. As far back as I can remember, while the meal was being ready, it was being made and getting ready, we would be out in the backyard playing football, whether it was, the turkey bowl or two-hand touch in the backyard. And then as you get older and you get through high school, in Ohio, you're hoping that you're practicing on Thanksgiving because that means you're in contention for the state championship. I know here in Massachusetts, that's the rivalry game day.
Which is very weird to me.
I know. And as I mentioned,
it's cool, but it's weird.
So Zavarian, where Garrett goes to school, where I help out, they're going to play St. John's Prep this Thursday, and then they're going to play them again in the state championship or the Super Bowl, I guess what they call it here, down at Gillette the following week. And I'm like, so
that's a coincidence, though. I think it's cool to have a rivalry.
2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's cool to have a rivalry the same day.
Yeah. Anyways,
I just don't understand how it works, but it's whatever.
Did you enjoy playing on Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah. So I was going to talk about it. Second year in the league, don't have kids. It's just my wife and I are here by ourselves. And back then, I think it was only 2 games. So I think it was a noon and a 3 o'clock. And so we had the noon game out in Detroit, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I'm like, I always look back, and I think, I always pinch myself. You're, early in your career, you're like, man, I'm in the NFL. I play for the Patriots. I'm backing up Tom Brady. I get to play football on Thanksgiving. And one of the most memorable things about that day, I was having breakfast with Bill O'Brien, who's the offensive coordinator, and Sebastian Vollmer, who is from Germany. And we're sitting there, it's probably 6 a.m. because we had an early start. We're eating breakfast, making small talk, and Billy leans over and goes, Seabass, you celebrate Thanksgiving over in Germany? And I kind of looked at Billy. I was like, Billy, this is the most American holiday. We're the only people who celebrate that. He's like, oh, yeah, my bad, right. So I'll never forget that. The game, I remember Deion Branch had a big game. Tom threw the ball all over the yard. And it was just one of those things you win a game in the NFL on Thanksgiving, and I think we were back home by 6:30, 7 o'clock, eating Thanksgiving dinner. It was the perfect day. It was a big win. But David, do you have any memorable Thanksgiving moments while you've been playing in the NFL? Usually, I don't think you played on Thanksgiving, but practice on Thanksgiving for sure.
Yeah, so my last 3 years of high school, we were a really good football team, won one state, semifinals, played late in the playoffs. So we had Thanksgiving, practice every Thursday. And I loved it. I don't know. We did it super early, only ones on campus, just kind of like what you were talking about earlier, just you and the boys. Yeah. Our coach, for whatever reason, we did a piñata on Thanksgiving morning. I don't know why.
Like a turkey?
It was filled. I don't forget what it was, but it was filled with honey buns, which was awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm fat, so. But we would, we'd have our honey buns after practice, and and then everyone would go home and have Thanksgiving, and then in college, kind of the same thing, right? We would practice on Thanksgiving morning. It's Georgia Tech week, and a lot of my buddies who, families might not live close would come home with me. It was about an hour 20, hour 30 drive. from Athens to my house. So we'd finish practice early and go to the house and eat and do Thanksgiving, come back that night. I don't know. Thanksgiving, a lot of my early memories of Thanksgiving, I don't remember like a lot of football. It was more about like hunting. That's, we would spend it at family, family had a hunting camp in South Alabama and we'd spend it down there and I loved it. And I even remember me and my dad had a deer lease one time in South Georgia and Middle Georgia. And we spent Thanksgiving eating microwave like pizza from a gas station, like just me and him hunting. That was super cool. But one thing I've always loved about playing in the NFL and Thanksgiving, right, Hoy, is, you forget a lot of times when you're playing, like how much you have to be thankful for, because you're in the grind, right? Mm-hmm. And you forget how much you're working really hard. Like I don't mean to say like the players don't work hard, but you're doing the easy thing, right? You're doing what you love every day, getting to play this game. And there's a lot of other people that currently sacrifice for you, whether it's your wife, the people in the building. You talked a little bit about that last week, right? Like all those people that sacrifice for us so we can go play it, in reality, this dumb game, like it's an amazing game, but like, what are we talking about here? And then all the people that sacrificed for you growing up to help you get in this position or had some type of impact on you, that, affected you, and allowed you to reach where you are. I just think it's a great holiday to remember, why you're doing something, and all the people to be grateful, kind of in this, not dark time, but like this time where like Thanksgiving in the NFL, like you're trying to go get it, Hoy, and it just allows you to slow down for a day and whether it's sending a text to somebody, just letting them know like, hey, I appreciate everything you did, or the people in the building, like, hey, appreciate y'all. Mm-hmm. I just think it's a great reminder of what's really important and all the people that have really done a lot harder things than you have to get to where you are, your parents, whoever it may be, coaches, whatever.
Yeah, that's why it's one of my favorite holidays. It's family, friends, football, right? Like some of the best things that you could have, at least for us in our lives. And so a lot to be thankful for. Miller Lite isn't just any light beer. It's the original light beer. And when Miller Lite arrived 50 years ago, time became Miller time. And fun nights became stories worth telling. Miller Lite celebrating 5 decades of legendary moments, because legendary stories start with the light. Most importantly, I think we got to talk, at least amongst the three of us, we're big food guys, like what's your go-to plate on Thanksgiving? I mean, you're from the South, I'm from the Midwest, Danny's from the Northeast. I'm sure we all have a little bit of things that might be unique. Like this Thursday, like what are your must-haves when it comes to Thanksgiving?
All right, I'll start.
Yep.
I don't want to hear stuffing.
Stuffing's number one. Stuffing's my number one.
What do you call it?
No, we dressing.
Dressing?
So it's
I've never heard
what
that.
it's called in the South.
I've never heard that. That's my number one.
Cornbread dressing.
Cornbread dressing.
It is so.
Can you explain the
good.
difference between dressing and stuffing?
Yeah.
So it's more like casserole-ish than it is like actual bread pieces, right? And stuffing, it's like actual bread.
Yeah.
This is like cornbread, and my wife makes it. It's my favorite thing. I wish we would make it about once a week, but I'd probably have a heart attack. But I will say this: Thanksgiving food really isn't about the food. It's about the vessel to use to shovel gravy down your throat. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think of, like, whether it's the turkey.
Yeah.
It's not about the turkey. It's about putting gravy on the turkey.
I agree with you.
Mashed potatoes, it ain't about the mashed potatoes. It's about rolls. It's about dipping your rolls in the gravy, the dressing and the gravy.
So for you, it's all about the gravy.
No, I like gravy.
Now, do you go a brown gravy? I know you said you made some back straps with some gravy this morning, but maybe that's more like Southern white gravy. I don't know.
Yeah. No, yeah. So Southern, like in the morning, I like white gravy.
Yeah.
Sawmill gravy is what it's technically called, I guess.
Dark meat,
but
white
like
meat?
Thanksgiving, dark meat.
Same.
But I love cream corn, mac and cheese, pecan pie.
Pecan.
I like a lot of
I'm going to
the
take his word for it.
I like a lot of the hors d'oeuvres.
What do you say?
Hors
Hors
well, now you got me messed up, but I don't think that's correct, David.
Hors
Hors.
I don't know, deviled eggs maybe.
There it is.
I think my wife's gonna make these things like haystacks. Like I just like little knickknacks, snacking.
All right, so Danny, why don't you go next?
I got a hot take.
Yeah,
I'm not a big drinker on Thanksgiving.
I can't fit the beer down there with all the food I have.
It's wine.
Exactly.
Wine.
I like
when
the
I'm
wine.
drinking,
Yeah.
when I'm drinking, I'm drinking. When I'm eating, I'm eating.
Okay.
And I'm here to eat on Thanksgiving.
All right, Danny, what's your
I
go-tos?
agree with that take, David, about the drinking. I mean, sausage dressing, is that it? Can I say that?
No, it's stuff. I mean,
It's sausage stuffing.
Stuffing, yeah.
Yeah.
It's stuffing. It's stuffing up north, but I don't eat stuffing.
Sausage stuffing, number one. Turkey, dark meat. Obviously, love the gravy. Sweet potato, underrated.
But how do you do your sweet potatoes?
Just like wedges.
You don't do the ones with the marshmallows? That's a Midwest
Yeah,
thing.
you don't do the
they have
sweet
that at the
potato
table.
casserole?
Sweet potato casserole.
They have.
Okay, you don't like it. Okay.
Yeah. Brussels sprouts.
Okay, I love that.
Brussels.
Ew.
I like Brussels.
And then get some vanilla ice cream in there with some pie. I don't know which pie, but
Are
all
you
those.
pumpkin or a pecan?
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin. I like pumpkin. All right. For me, kind of very similar to you guys. I love the green bean casserole with the crispy onions.
I like a green bean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one.
I do like the sweet potato casserole with a little bit of the toasted marshmallows.
Mm-hmm.
Turkey, dark meat. A few years ago, I started smoking my turkey, which was phenomenal.
Spatchcock?
Spatchcocked, yep. But growing up, my one side of the family, they would deep fry the turkey. That's too extensive
Love it,
for me.
fried
Plus, I don't
turkey.
want to blow up my house. So, but
You
it is
won't.
really good.
That's why you got home insurance.
And then this is going to be a very unique one, but for my dad's side of the family, my German side of the family, my Oma, she's a grandma in German, and she would make some German staples, and the one that stuck with our family is this braised red cabbage. It's called Rotkohl, and it's kind of this sweet and tangy braised cabbage. I have to have it at Thanksgiving. It's one of the go-tos.
I like that.
It's I think I made it for you once, David.
I thought you did too. I liked it.
Yeah.
David's about to eat his microphone.
I know.
This is the most engaged he's been in this conversation.
I know. Hey, food.
I'm really locked in because I have a controversial thing that it really pisses me off, and I want to get to you with y'all. What do you guys think about the people that do like prime rib instead of turkey?
Nah, you can't. Look, I get it. Turkey.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
That's
you can't
weird.
have ham. You can't have prime
eat
rib.
that-
You got to
That's
have
New Year's
turkey.
Eve.
You can't
or
have ham.
Christmas Eve.
You can't have ham.
No, as long as you have a turkey, you have to have the turkey. Like, I get it. Prime rib tastes better. Ham tastes better. But it's part of the tradition. You have to have the turkey. And that's why you have to be creative about the way you cook it.
Well, David, I feel like you would love a turducken. I've had a turducken once, and
Got my turducken shoes on right here.
it was amazing.
I would say this though, like I'm not big. I know there's a lot of people too that do some Thanksgiving on Christmas type, like turkey on Christmas.
No.
I like having like a prime rib or steaks on Christmas,
Prime rib,
like around Christmas. Yeah, like Christmas Eve, if you do a big dinner.
Yep.
Like I like that. I like keeping Thanksgiving food Thanksgiving because it makes it that much special when it comes around, in my opinion.
All right, I'm hungry now.
Yeah, please send pictures of your plates on Thanksgiving. We'll get those out on the
we
Quick
can
Snap
compare 'em.
socials. Everyone can look at how much food you guys eat. All right, should we go around the league?
Yeah, around the league.
I mean,
do it.
the Chiefs-Colts game was the one to talk about.
Wild.
I think they were down
Wild.
11. The Chiefs were down 11 in the fourth quarter. They go to overtime. They win it. The whole game, I was saying, Mahomes going to win this football game.
Yeah, you were. I mean, it's one of those things like going in and selfishly for the Patriots, you actually want the Colts to get knocked down, right? Because they're one of the teams in contention for that number one seed. But also, we talked about last week, I'd rather play someone else other than Kansas City for that reason alone, is because as much as you want to count them out, when you have Mahomes, it's just what he's able to do. And sometimes I sit there and I get so frustrated. I'm like, how is he making these plays? He was able to do it. Look, the Colts looked really good for the first, 3 quarters of the game, and then it just fell apart. So the Chiefs still have a tough road. They still got to play the Broncos again. They still got to play the Chargers again. They play the Cowboys. That's going to be the game for Thursday as everybody's sitting there watching on Thanksgiving. With the way Dallas finished and beat Philly at home, now they get the Chiefs coming into home on Thanksgiving Day. That's going to be a great game.
All 3 Thanksgiving games are great.
Yeah.
The Packers, Lions, and then at night you got Ravens, Bengals.
with Burrow
This is the kind of game you're right, though, Hoy. Like, this is why you don't want to play the Chiefs. Because you give them a chance, Andy Reid, Spags, Mahomes, like,
and I don't know what I
put
don't
my money
want.
on them.
I don't want our young Patriot team and their first season coming together to be sitting there in a playoff game, looking across the sideline and being like, Mahomes making a few plays, kind of how people used to look at Tom.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want, I'd rather have them look across and be like, that's Bo Nix. We can beat him. You don't want that creeping in.
Daniel
You guys
Jones.
both said, though, you would rather play the Chiefs at home than go to Denver and play Bo Nix.
I know.
You both said that last week.
I know.
I don't know, though. Like, going to Denver, I think I would take the Chiefs at home.
No chance.
Let me see, Danny. I'm going to say that. Let's see how the season ends and ask me week 1 of the playoffs.
Well, what's crazy is the Chiefs are still 10th in the AFC.
Yeah, it's like they only have a 50% chance of making it right now. Because they basically, they're going to have to make it as a wild card, right? I mean, is there any chance they catch Denver? I mean, I know they play each other head to head, but
a lot would have to happen.
Yeah, so
I mean, they're the standings right there. Denver's at 9-2. Chiefs are 6-5. But what's crazy is that I think the Chiefs still have like the 6th or 7th best Super Bowl odds.
Those 3 teams right there in the wild card all have the tiebreaker as of right now with the Chiefs because they've all beat the Chiefs. The Jaguars beat the Chiefs. The Bills beat the Chiefs. Now, the only team that'll play them again is the Chargers. So it actually is going to be interesting here down the stretch. I mean, the crazy division is, we counted Baltimore out way back when.
You guys did. I said, look out for Baltimore, and they beat the Jets.
But I didn't, at the time, you didn't realize, like, their defense was banged up. They've got a lot of those guys back. Lamar, it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, he's a stud. I mean, so they take over the Steelers for the AFC North.
Yep.
Shedeur Sanders started. First Cleveland Browns quarterback to make his first start and win in 17 quarterbacks.
It's wild.
Were you one of those 17?
It was my second start. I won, but my first start as an NFL player was the year before, so it didn't really. It was my first start as a Cleveland Brown. I won, but not as a player.
Gotcha. What do you think of Shedeur?
Look, I
Did
think,
you guys see his post-game interview?
Yeah, and that's why this is such a lightning rod topic. Look, I'm going to start with this. My favorite player as a kid was Deion Sanders. So no one wants his son to do better or do well more than me. And I would say this. He added an element to that offense that they haven't had. He was able to throw the ball down the field. They weren't able to do that with Dylan Gabriel. We saw it firsthand. The one he tried to throw down the field was an amazing interception by Jalen Hawkins. So he brought some energy to the team. But the reality was he had those 2 big throws on the run. Judy fumbled on one of them. And he threw a 70-yard touchdown pass on a swing route 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And everything else was kind of just okay. And you see a lot of the things happen in the game that he tried to do in college. It doesn't work at the NFL level. The Raiders are just a complete mess right now. They've fired 2 coordinators in back-to-back weeks. So they fired their special teams coordinator. Now they fired Chip Kelly. It's going to be interesting to see him go against San Francisco this week.
David, if you have a take on Shedeur, please give it. But I have a question for Brian about.
You want me to give my take?
Go for it.
You said give your take.
Give your take. Give your take, David. Give your take.
I agree with you, Hoy. Like, Deion, I had a poster of Deion in my room growing up. Like, he was electric. I just, I don't know, man. I want to see everyone do. I want to see everyone do good in the league because it's a great opportunity for people. There's nothing like it, and I like a little bit of humility personally.
It's just a bold move because, as you and I both know, David, like, adversity's coming for all of us. At some point, if you play in the NFL long enough, you're going to go through a rough time. And when you build yourself up on your own, that's when people want to see you fall because you've now shoved it in people's faces. And then, now it's like we got people break. And obviously, being from Cleveland, having played from Cleveland, I get asked about this a lot. I did a few radio interviews there last week, a podcast interview with people that I've known. They all want to know about Shedeur because he is, this lightning rod type guy, right? He brings a lot of attention to it. But they're breaking down now the post-game speech of Kevin Stefanski and Dylan Gabriel's first win as opposed to Shedeur. And it's like it's gotten to a level where it doesn't need to be taken. Like, let's just give this guy a 4-week sample, and then we can really judge where he's at and where he is as an NFL player.
Well, that was my question. He kept saying in the post-game press conference or on the field saying this was only 1 week of preparation.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I get it. You weren't prepping as a starter, but he was on the team for the full offseason. He went through training camp. He's been on the team for 12 weeks. So, like, what is he referring to?
I think he's referring to 1 week of reps as a starter.
But, like,
I know. Look, I mean, we were talking to me before, and I love Teddy Bridgewater. This dude was not ready to come in and play in that game the other night. Like,
yeah.
being a backup quarterback stinks. But sometimes, and I did an article with The Athletic about this, like, sometimes you actually feel more anxiety as the backup quarterback on game day because you never know, is it go time? Like, I remember being on the sideline, and whether it was Tom or Mac Jones, like, they take a big hit and you'd be like, all right, buckle that shin strap. Oh, wait, they're okay. And so it's the constant, like, yes, no. And so sometimes when you're the starter, there's more pressure the entire week to perform each and every day, be the guy in the huddle, all that. But when it comes to game day, you're like, I know I'm playing. There's not anything that I have to question about, like, what's going to happen today other than, okay, you know, on 3rd and 2 to 5, are they going to play man or zone? As opposed to being the backup and being like, all right, at a moment's notice, you got to go. So I think, you know, it's a hot topic. 4 weeks from now, we'll have a very good understanding of where Shedeur is as a player in the NFL.
I think he's awful. Let's move on to the NFC. We don't talk about the NFC a ton on this show. The Rams on Sunday Night Football.
Number one team.
They're the best team in football, right?
Best team.
Georgia Bulldog leading the way. Stafford's just incredible. What was the stat like the last 5 games?
Yeah, I think it's 25 touchdowns, 0 picks.
It's incredible. And this is
Devontae Adams too, and he's a touchdown machine.
Leads the league in touchdowns.
Dude, I mean, I played with Tay in 2023. And that was a rough year for everybody involved in Vegas, from Josh to the quarterbacks to him to the defense, all of that. This dude was probably the most talented receiver that I've ever been on a field with. And I got to play with Randy Moss, but it was at the end of his career. I played with DeAndre Hopkins, Josh Gordon. What Devontae's able to do at his size, with his speed, his twitchiness, like, it's almost a cheat code now. They're calling run plays down in the red area, like the low red, and they just tag a fade. And if it's one-on-one Stafford, it's like automatic. Stafford throws it up to him, and he hasn't even beat the guy off the line of scrimmage, and Stafford's dropping into the bucket. It's just incredible. And then you pair it with Puka, and you pair those 3 guys with Sean McVay. And I think the one thing you're seeing is, I think this is Stafford's 5th year in LA.
Sounds right.
2020 was the first year.
I think that's when they made the golf trade.
Like, it's finally like a full integration of him, what he likes to do with Sean McVay's play calling and great players. They have a good running game. The offensive line has been healthy. Wendy's doing a tremendous job. Shout out Ryan Wendell. The offensive line is playing phenomenal. They're doing a good job of incorporating tight ends and 13 personnel. They're just humming, and the defense is good too. Chris Shula, defensive coordinator. Like, my Super Bowl pick is the Rams and the Patriots.
You got the Patriots.
I do. Look, I'm not going to back down now. There's not a team in the AFC that I don't think they can beat. That's what I'm saying. And I would love to see a rematch of the 2018 Super Bowl. There's a little bit of nostalgia with that.
And 2001.
And 2001. Right. That's right.
That would be incredible. A lot of people in the national media say the NFC is a better conference than the AFC in terms of
I'd agree.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I'd agree.
Lions, Packers.
I would think you got Lions, Packers,
Eagles, Rams.
Wait, hold on, we didn't talk about the Eagles game.
Rams, Seahawks.
The NFC West is back. Like, there was a stretch where those teams were beating up on each other, and it seems to be like that again. I thought the NFC North, albeit there are 3 teams in contention, I thought they'd be a lot better this year. The Vikings are the team that's just completely fallen off.
JJ McCarthy is not it.
Oh my God! I mean, that may go down as one of the worst personnel decisions in recent history, to let Sam Darnold walk out the door, don't even offer him a contract at 27 years old, a 14-win team last year. If David, how would you feel if you're a veteran on that team? You thought you had Super Bowl aspirations last year.
Oh, you're questioning everything right now.
And I feel bad for JJ McCarthy because it just keeps getting worse. Like, you're hoping that he just goes out and is like serviceable, and each week it's actually gotten gradually worse. Now he's in concussion protocol.
Max Brosner, UNH kid.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Look, he worked with a guy here locally, Mike McCarthy, M2 quarterback. I've seen him up there a few times, and I'm excited. The guy did well when he transferred to Minnesota. And I saw this. He'd be the first University of Minnesota quarterback to start an NFL game. That's pretty wild.
That is wild.
That's wild.
The clip I always think about, and not to rag on Bill because he's obviously the GOAT, but that first year he was out of the league, he was doing a bunch of media. I think his first appearance was on the NFL draft. And he was like, I wouldn't draft Drake Maye. I've seen the tape. I would take J.J. McCarthy. And he was very outspoken about that. And now you look at that, and that is completely
wasn't there a
wrong.
guy here at NBC Sports last year who said that they should have taken Drake Maye or J.J. over Drake Maye?
Who was that?
I'm not going to throw him under the bus.
Was it Tommy Kern?
I'm sitting in his
just
chair.
Say his name.
Tom. I love you, Tom. But
That's why you'll never be Stephen A.
I love you too, Tom.
I have feelings, dude. I feel
Drake. I mean, Drake versus JJ. It's not.
Well, I think the
close.
one thing that I would say, and we're going to go on a tirade here, going back, like when you looked at the draft last year, I actually thought Jaden Daniels was the most pro-ready quarterback last year. Caleb was just too helter-skelter, and I thought Drake had the most upside. And it just was a matter of where he went and who was coaching him. And now I would say this, getting Josh in here with the people around him has accelerated his development exponentially. Like,
yes.
if this was the same situation as last year, I think people would be sitting there and would be, I think he would improve, but it wouldn't be where he's at right now. And so finally, so much about the quarterback position is, who do you surround that guy with?
Well, Kevin O'Connell's supposed to be this guru.
I know.
And he fixed Sam Darnold, and now...
Josh McCown's the quarterback coach. And the one thing with JJ that I see is, this dude's like Rick Vaughn. Do you know who Rick Vaughn is?
No.
David?
Yeah, he's the he's the wrestler.
No. Rick Vaughn was the pitcher in Major League, Charlie Sheen.
Oh, yeah.
And he threw everything. He threw everything as hard as he could. And when you watch JJ play, it's like you can't be a one-level thrower in the NFL. And he tries to throw everything on a line, which means he's waiting for people to get open. Like, that's what's been so impressive about Drake is the layering of the football, throwing with anticipation, control on the deep passes. Like, how frustrated is Justin Jefferson right now?
You can just watch the game. He's pissed.
Bad.
Right.
All right.
It's one of those things, though. I think with coaching and players, though, like, it takes two to tango, right? Like, a great coach paired with a player who's willing to learn, willing to get better, and has the tools to do those things, then you're going to have a magical relationship. If the coach is great and the player doesn't have the tools or doesn't want to listen or doesn't play the right way, like, it looks bad. Or if the player has all the tools and isn't getting the development he needs, then it looks bad too. So, like, I don't know. It takes two to tango, in some aspect. And I'm not saying that JJ McCarthy might not have the tools. He just might not fit where he is. Like, we've, Sam Darnold, Daniel, like, all these guys you see, and they go to somewhere else, and for whatever reason it clicks. So I don't know.
Did you see the one meme? It was like, here's a hot take. Vikings should cut J.J. McCarthy and then re-sign him as a reclamation project that Kevin O'Connell's done such a good job doing. It's
probably war.
Not a bad take. Last round of the league game, going back to the AFC, because we kind of forgot about it because they played on Thursday night. Yeah. But the Bills, they lost to the Texans, and that Texans defense is scary.
Yeah, I mean, there's the one thing I would say when you look around the league, the level of defensive play this year is pretty crazy, because you mentioned the Texans, the Packers defense is incredible. Up until the Broncos, up until the second half of the Cowboys game, the Eagles defense was getting back to where they were last year. The Patriots defense, I mean, there's some defensive football being played, and what the Texans did to the Bills on Thursday night was impressive.
8 sacks.
Oh, I mean, it's incredible.
But
you got good coaches over there. Yep. You got really good players. Will Anderson Jr., Hunter on the other side. Like, it's this Texans team's a little frisky, There's a little wet your bill a little bit,
Yeah, they're going to have to really fight their way out because they got behind a little bit. But if they can do what they did the other night, Davis Mills has been playing well. Did you see that meme too of the post game? They're celebrating the win, and in the corner was C.J. Stroud not looking happy that the team had won 3 games without him. So it'll be interesting to see
when you're playing when you're injured and the team plays well. Like it's a terrible position as a player.
Yeah,
you
got to fake it till you make it. Cameras are everywhere.
Yeah, you got to fake it, but that's hard to do all the time. Like I don't know what the situation is, but like I understand his. I don't know. You don't like Tom even said it. Like you don't want to see someone else do your job and have success. 100%. Like it's a cutthroat business.
Off that, David, before we get out of here, my last question is for you. Is now that you talk about being injured and the team having success, that's different. You were injured last year. The team didn't have success. You're not on the team this year. You're retired now. The team is doing well. How is that feeling personally?
Well, look, like I said, I would say this too. When you're injured and the team's not having success, it's not like that makes you feel better. Like that sucks too, because then you feel like you let the team down. You could have tried to help out. You could have gone down swinging. But in this situation, I would say, does it look, I have no regrets on my career. Did I want to play this year? Yes. Does it making me see them have success and win games make me want to play? Yes. Am I really happy that I've been sitting at my farm for the last week, deer hunting every day? Yes. I am very happy. I was in a deer stand this morning. Wind was blowing 100 miles an hour. I think I touched the ground from a tree at one point, got soaking wet. I would rather be doing that than sitting in a meeting right now, personally. So it's like I don't know, damned if you do, damned if you don't, or I don't know. Like it's good and bad. Like,
yeah,
but
every single response.
I think like personally, like I'm such a fan. I care about the team. We still live there. Like I would rather them be good than be bad. Like, yeah, I would want, there's people I care about in that building that deserve success. Like Hunter Henry hasn't had a lot of success from a team standpoint in his career. Like he deserves it. Drake, like this young in his career, like in my mind, even if he gets to the playoffs and they lose, like to me, it should light a fire in his ass. Like I got to do that again. And I want to do that again. And I know what it takes to get there. Now I got to figure out what it takes to go to the next level. Josh, I care about him. Guys like Hooper, Big Mike, Ramondre. Yeah, like there's a lot of guys on that football team I still care about, and I got to share in a lot of success and tried to impart what that success looks like and how to do it. And now I want them to figure that out and do it because, Hoy knows he's been a part of it. Like there's nothing like it. And it's very hard to do. And it makes you bonded to those people for life when you do it with them.
Makes sense. Well, you send out that tweet every week that's like, hey, send in your questions about this week's game. Yeah. We kind of skipped the fan questions this week because every single response was like, hey, David, can you suit up on Monday night? Because we need you at O-line. So.
No, dude, he's lost too much weight trying to figure out that golf swing. I don't even know. Could you?
I'm 258 pounds, so I'm down 40 pounds. I don't think I can gain that in a week.
Maybe Thanksgiving week you could.
Maybe. And unless Mr. Kraft flies down and lands this helicopter in the middle of my pasture, I'm not leaving. So
I'm not leaving. You might have a lot of Pats fans calling, trying to find Robert Kraft's phone number then.
Yeah. Eat up this week, big boy.
I'm done. I am. Like I said, I'd rather be sitting in a deer stand or on the golf course with Hoyer and you, Danny. So.
All right. Well, happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you too.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thankful for the Patriots.
Shout out NBC Sports. I'm thankful for NBC Sports Boston giving us the show again.
Of course.
Letting me have a job.
Or the show would have looked a lot like this with David and some deer stand.
Yeah, trying to figure out how to use his microphone.
Yeah, all of us in unlit rooms.
Ask Sarah. I was the first one on today, logged in, microphone set up. I traveled with all this crap. Yeah, look at this thing. Traveled with it.
Committed.
Just for you, Danny.
Hey,
Love it. Well,
shout out
we'll
NBC Sports
We'll be
Boston.
excited to get you back in the studio and kick Danny back to the NASA control room.
It's a
next
comfy
Yeah, he's
chair,
a little
David.
power hungry sitting there.
Oh, comfy
he was
chair.
in here ready to go when I walked in.
Yeah,
so
I like it.
he was ready for us.
Yeah, Hoy, you show up late every day.
I texted and said I had another thing. We're good.
All right, let's go beat the Giants.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.